Hi, my name's Peter Brogden, and in this video we're going to do a little talk about how to easily clean the sensor in a crop sensor Nikon digital SLR. Now before we dig into the details, let's just discuss one common area of confusion, and that is confusing a contaminated sensor versus a contaminated viewfinder. If you have any contamination in the viewfinder, it's not going to affect the images that you take with the camera. It's really easy to check the viewfinder. Just take the lens cap off the lens, point the camera at something of a continuous tone like a white wall or a blue sky, have a look through the viewfinder and identify any dirt. Anything you see there, it's annoying, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the pictures you take with the camera. You'll notice a contaminated sensor by seeing spots on sky images. You'll see these either on the LCD at the back of the camera or any images that you're looking at on your computer screen. Now before you start cleaning, it's worthwhile preparing a dust-free area to clean. Obviously to clean the sensor we're going to have to take the lens off. What we don't want is any dust from the local environment getting inside the camera when we clean. So find somewhere in your household that's clean and go to that area to clean the camera. Now the best way to check whether the sensor is contaminated is obviously to do a test shot. It's important to do a test shot if you're cleaning anyway, so that you can compare your before and after results. Now the easiest way to do a test shot is to set the camera to aperture priority mode so that we control the aperture. Dial in a small aperture because we want maximum depth of field. So on this lens I can dial up f22, just dial up the smallest aperture, which means the biggest number, and I'm going to set the ISO to 100. And it's important to set the camera to manual focus, either on the lens or the camera, because we don't want to focus on what we're trying to take an image of. We just want a continuous tone. So pointed at a white sheet of paper or a white wall or something, make sure you have a lens with a focal length of 50mm or longer if possible to get the best quality, and then just point it at your subject, and then while you're moving it, let the exposure happen, and then you'll get a nice clear shot of a continuous tone that will show any marks on the sensor. Then you can make your decision as to whether to start cleaning or not. In order to clean the sensor, we need to gain access to the sensor, which is done through the menu system. Now, we need to lift the mirror and open the shutter, which requires the battery power to do that. So please make sure that you have a fully charged battery in the camera before you start sensor cleaning. So let's take the lens off the camera. It makes sense when you're doing this to put a cover on the back of the lens, and then that way while we're cleaning no dust in the environment can fall on top of the lens, which we might then put back in the camera. So in the camera we take the menu system and access lock up mirror for cleaning mode, select that, press start, and then when the shutter button is pressed, the mirror lifts, the shutter opens, and we can now see the sensor and access it for cleaning. Now during the cleaning process, please don't leave the camera like that, because again you're giving dust the opportunity to fall in. When you're not physically handling the camera, leave the camera upright, or perhaps better still, leave it face down on the desk like that. When it comes to cleaning the sensor, we should treat it as a two-stage process. That is, do a dry clean followed by a wet clean. Now dry cleaning, we can use a blower. This blower has got a filter on, which means that any air going into it is naturally filtered so that the blower can only blow clean air onto the sensor. If you don't have a filter blower, please keep your blower in a polythene bag when you're not using it, and that will keep it nice and hygienic. Okay, so we're going to go into sensor cleaning mode, lock up mirror for cleaning, hold the camera upside down, take the blower and move the nozzle near the mirror box. You don't need to put the nozzle inside the camera where it might damage something. Just hold it close to the mirror box and give a few vigorous puffs just to make sure that you dislodge any dust. Now once you've given it a clean with a blower, if you have a loupe, it's worthwhile checking it to see how effective that's been. Now if you find that there's any dust remaining, it might be a good option to move on to the brush method of dry cleaning. Now this is a nylon brush made by the Dust Patrol that has extremely soft bristles, and because it's nylon it can hold a charge. So we can charge the brush up by blowing it with a blower. So the air moving across the bristles is going to put a static charge on the bristles. And now when we move the brush across the sensor, which we do gently from left to right, the static charge on the brush will pick up any dust and remove it from the sensor. Now obviously we don't want our greasy fingers on the brush, so as soon as we've finished, put it back into the pot, and now we can check it again with a loupe. Hopefully that will be enough for you to continue your photography. If not, we need to move on to the second stage, which is to do a wet clean, which we'll talk about next. Now in order to do a wet clean, we're physically going to rub a moistened swab across the sensor, and in order to moisten it we have two cleaning solutions, gamma and beta. Both have the same cleaning power, but if you're travelling by air it's best to take the beta solution. Now the swabs come in sealed packs and they're colour coded, and that colour code denotes the size of the sensor. So we have red, blue and yellow. Yellow is for full frame sensors, blue is for some DX sensors and micro four thirds sensors, and red is used for most DX size cameras. So to do a wet clean, obviously we need to do mirror lock-up again. I like to prepare the area, so I get the top off the cleaning solution bottle and then I cut the end off the packet in order to access the swab. Now these swabs are extremely easy to use. They're cut away at the sides, which makes it nice and easy to see what you're doing while you're cleaning. The material is held onto the swab by a band rather than being glued or welded, which means that there can be no sharp or hard edges on the swab. So let's go to mirror lock-up. Take the swab out of the packet and with the solution put 2 or 3 drops on the end of the swab. Now pick up the camera and then carefully put the swab inside the camera and position the swab at one side of the sensor, and then go down the sensor from one side to the other, and when you get to the end, reverse and go back to the first side again, and then carefully lift the swab outside the camera and turn the camera off to put the mirror back, and discard the swab because that's now contaminated. Now hopefully that will get you a nice clean sensor, and I think you can see that it's an easy process. Sensor dirt is something that you can't stop. It's going to happen from time to time, and I hope this video has shown you what an easy process it is to clean. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give us a thumbs up. Thank you.